Hello, my darlings. Madam Raven here. Today I have Collected Tale number 10 by Gelfwyn, entitled Best Laid Plans. I didn't know what the fox really was, or how it was twisted into the demon hound and a field of sacrifice. I didn't know many things anymore, it seemed. I didn't even know who I was. The deputy had lost himself, it seemed. Something the girl had said wormed its way into his mind. Once he understood the lie his wife had told him long ago. The girl would not come into the house again, instead sleeping out in the barn, wrapped in hay, and guarded by a creature that we couldn't even begin to understand. We saw a white dog, the size of which was impossible. But we knew that was not what it was. Only the girl knew what it was, and her mind was far too raw to try and even explain it to us. Whatever the gift was she had developed, it was still too new for her to control. The girl, Emily rather, was struggling to understand what she could suddenly do. The creature was thankfully able to silence things and help her become more focused. I thought it was actually trying to teach her how to separate the visions from herself. Granny was not so happy to have that white beastie in her barn. Then again, we were all looking at her a bit cautiously now. The fox came to her, yet she was the one that had been guiding me to the truth. Or was she? I realized suddenly that right now, it was only the three of us, and we were all standing in different corners, terrified of one another. Emily had destroyed the deputy's marriage by speaking a hidden truth. Granny had destroyed my history with the hidden truth of who I was. Emily's life was destroyed by a truth that her mother hid. I gave up trying to pretend I was sleeping and went to join the deputy on the back porch. He gazed towards the barn with red, bleary eyes. I've come to one understanding. The truth hurts like hell. Yep, he spit into the dirt. And it ain't going to be any easier to hear. At least you and I can go back to shutting the curtains and pretending. That child has to see the truth of everyone she ever meets from now on. I would get drunk as a skunk and then blow my brains out. The deputy shook his head. Can't say I haven't already thought of it. I was in the army when we got married. I got assigned overseas, but she wanted to be near her ma when the baby came. Only I was told she lost it. Stayed with her ma because she was sickly after and grieving. It was 18 months before I saw her again. She killed my baby out there in that field for nothing. My son. My sisters are in that field. I don't even know their names. You realize when we went down to that field that it was the morning after the pawpaw tree fell. The morning after my sisters were murdered. It doesn't just randomly pick what time you step into. I sat down heavily on the step beside him. I keep thinking about the pictures I took. Wonder if I could find them now. Might could. Yeah, the chief knows what you saw out there. You think the monster is at the hill because that's where the children go? Got a better clue? Dawn started to lighten the sky. I still don't know what to do. Maybe if she sees it, she can, I don't know, see how to kill it? And how you going to get it to come out and be seen? Maybe the ghost children. I knew I was grasping at straws now. How are we going to keep her from joining the dead kids? Heard a lot of things about a gold fox growing up, and since becoming an officer. Most of the time, not a good to find it. I wonder if we could ask her new guardian to come play hound for a day. It wasn't the worst idea I could think of. The deputy snorted softly. Yeah, let's have a good old-fashioned fox hunt with a... He slammed his fist onto the post beside him. What the hell are these things? How long have they been here? How many kids have died because of them? Why has it taken this long for anyone to do something? Hush up, young'uns. You'll have the rooster upset with the yelling. Granny's voice startled us both. Coffee's on. Come in out of the chill. As for your questions, don't rightly know. Since the first white folk came, far too many. Something needed to happen, and now it finally has. We rose and followed into the warmth of the kitchen. Hadn't even realized I was cold out there. Coffee pot was ancient, but there was something soothing about hearing it perk. The girl needs food. Ain't been taking food for days now, I'd say. I can take her something. Hopefully the guardian remembers I'm here to help. So what's changed? You three exist at the same time. Been more babes that got out of time. Been more than one wronged man ready to fight. Now the girl. Ain't sure she's been before, but been others to make the third. Were a boy not long ago that figured out the truth, but killed himself. Girl has got a backbone. Granny rummaged about the kitchen, setting a pot of oatmeal cooking on the stove. You know the fox is what we have to hunt? I asked cautiously. Even the devil's done good when it suits his end. She turned to look at the barn. And angels done slaughtered children in their beds. She fixed a bowl, heaping dried apples, cinnamon, and honey on it. Make the girl eat this. She's got a long day ahead of her. Wrapped in a dish towel, I took the bowl out to the barn. She was awake and alone, sitting on a bale of hay, looking out across the field. Come on inside and eat. She looked at me with wide eyes and shook her head. Can't. She looked away from me. So, what is my sin? I forced her to take the wrapped bowl, watching her curl her fingers around the warmth. It cloaks you. It ain't yours, but it clings to you. It seems my father wanted me and my sisters dead in that field. One of them saved me, so now I need to find a way to free them. Do you understand what the coins you dug up are? She was toying with the oatmeal, nibbling it, her body demanding and her mind refusing. Tokens. Lives. Souls. Murdered children. We want to free them, to stop the killing, make that field vanish for all times. Emily looked up at me and sighed. But you don't know how. Not a question, but a truthful statement. I nodded. There is another place the children are seen. We want to take you there. Maybe you can see what we can't, but first, you eat all that. All of it. She wrinkled her nose and looked at it with misgivings. Granny Tansy doesn't want to hurt you. At least, I don't think so. She's ready for this to end, too. I squeezed her shoulder lightly and got up to go. By the time I got back in the house, 2 plates sat on the table. The deputy had gone to get something and would return in a while. We ate in silence. I helped with the feeding animals, cleaning up, anything that needed doing in the barn. Emily ate the oatmeal and then walked across the pasture where a small stream was hidden by trees. I prayed she gained control enough to allow her to be around people again eventually. Deputy returned in his patrol truck. With it, we could drive almost all the way to Broken Hill. Emily appeared just as he pulled up. She didn't look at either of us as she slid into the back seat and waited. Are you sure that girl should be anywhere near that damn hill? I breathed deep and released it. No, but our choices are pretty limited. Got an idea of my own. He patted a tarp-covered box. We drove in silence, straight up to the tumbled-down shed. I noticed the writing was missing. Emily took one look at the shed and turned white. then wandered off towards the hill. She started toward the path I had taken, then stopped and headed off across the field. The deputy motioned for me to follow and was digging things out of the back of his truck. We walked along the sharp drop of the hill. She would look up at it and frown, sometimes reach out and touch a tree or a stone. What she was seeing or looking for, I couldn't say, and she was not exactly in a talkative mood. She raced off, scrambling up a steep section. I was forced to go a bit further till it sloped more gently. I found her standing on a stone looking at a water bubbling up through the moss. The start of Mackey Creek, I realized. The whole slope wept crystal tears that gathered into a sandy bottom pool of water just before starting the journey to the river. On the other side of that pool stood a rather handsome young man. Long red gold curled hair and a smile as if Christmas had just arrived early. He was dressed like someone attending one of those old-time events. Slacks and a brocade waistcoat. "Be ye come to find a wee foxy, my little golden lass?" His voice held a thick brogue. "Irish? Scottish? Too bad it be that you will be the prize today." Emily backed up and took my hand. I could feel her shaking. "Boys, the little bitch and her keeper be over here." No thick brogue this time. His voice wasn't a bit different than the southern twang most of the men in this area had. More yells answered, and we could hear brush and bramble being ran through. Emily tugged at me and started racing off, sliding down the steep slope in a barely contained tumble, but not heading towards the truck, rather running down the creek bed. The shouts and noise were close behind her. Pure fear was making me keep up with her. She dove up a bank at one point and ducked under an ancient oak, pulling me with her through the brush surrounding the trunk. It was hollow, barely enough room for two of us to squeeze into it. I didn't want to. They would find us, but she silently insisted. Trust her, she saw what I didn't. Footsteps, splashes, shouts, smug decrees of just who would get the little bitch first. Then silence. She squeezed my hand after what seemed an eternity. We crept out and looked about for only seconds before taking off right through the cornfield. Thank God for a busy or lazy farmer that had not yet harvested this field. She couldn't see where she was going. There was no way. But she moved quickly in a single direction, cutting across the rows when needed. The field was thankfully very small, and it was on one of these three sides of Broken Hill, one I hadn't really paid much attention to. I felt we should get as far from it as possible, but she angled towards the tip that marked the ridge between the two gentle slopes. I almost tripped over the remains of an old foundation. Looking, I could see part of a brick chimney and a fireplace. She went to it and then carefully walked forward, toes testing the ground along what had been an old farmhouse. She saw, heard, knew something I didn't, because she dropped to her knees and started clearing away debris, revealing stone steps vanishing into the ground. She headed down without hesitation. I followed cautiously. The debris fell back over the entrance, and I almost panicked. I could see her in the faint bit of light that came through, standing in the middle of what had once been a large room, both hands over her mouth, the golden eyes wide with horror and flicking about. She was rocking back and forth. She looked at me and shook her head. I had to stay perfectly silent. I understood as I heard steps on the debris overhead. I might have felt better about our hiding place if her eyes weren't constantly looking about at something in the cellar with us. Something that was about the height of a child or children. So quoth this raven. Oh, I love this set of stories, and it's getting so good. I won't put any stress on Gelfwyn. I know her health hasn't been fabulous, and I totally understand that, but I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited to hear more. If you liked it, please click the like button. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see if I can. I'm still trying to find out why I don't have a bell, but I usually post Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings. I'm always on Twitter. It'll let you know on Twitter when it comes out. Bye-bye, my darlings.